everyone. Thanks for joining us. We have a terrific show today. Corinne Conley and Kay Weissman will read from their memoirs, and Ruth Elliott will sing her songs. Corinne Conley has been a professional actress for over 70 years, working in film, television, and on stage. After coming to MPTF, she has written about her life and experiences in the Gray Quill Writing Workshop. Today, she will share some of those stories with you. Here's a marvelous writer, Corinne Conley.
Thank you, Harry. I would say my memoirs consist of several stories that I've written for our excellent writing group here, the Gray Quill Society. I've written a diverse group of tales about my experiences, theatrical and otherwise. And I hope someday to be able to put them together in chronological form. And then maybe I can say I've got memoirs. But for now, I'll start for you with a story of what happened to me when I went to New York as a young girl with stars in her eyes. I call this story Sophisticated Lady. It was September 1949. I had graduated in June from Mary Washington College for Women in Fredericksburg, Virginia, and had landed my first professional acting role in The Common Glory, an outdoor drama in the colonial town of Williamsburg, Virginia. It had been an exciting summer, playing with a large company in our amphitheater, filled with tourists every night. When we closed, I headed to New York City with another actress, and we shared a large room over the Crystal Bar on 72nd Street and Columbus. Fortunately, since I was now going to be a New York actress, I had been persuaded to abandon my plaid skirts and crepe-soled shoes and was prepared to make the rounds in, I thought, a quite stunning copper-colored wool suit I picked up in a second-hand clothing store. I wore my suit for my first subway ride to Gimbel's, where I got a part-time job behind the jewelry counter. I was somewhat apprehensive about my new job, but felt riding the subway that I was a real New Yorker. A man sitting opposite me seemed to be staring at me and suddenly moved to the seat next to me. "Excuse me," he said. "Are you by any chance an actress?" "Oh, am I an actress? Of course. You can obviously tell by looking at me." "Yes," I said curtly. I certainly don't talk to strangers as a rule. "Well, I'm producing a new play, and you look so right for an important part. Please get off at the next stop with me. I'll tell you all about it." So, this is how it happens. I got off at the next stop and went along with him to his apartment, which was about 3 flights up. Now, let me spare you the suspense. I was not chopped up and thrown down the drain pipe, as my mother might have warned me. No, this guy was legitimate. He gave me the script and explained the part was of a young woman whose husband had returned from the war injured. The scene he wished me to read was when I discovered that his injury had left him impotent. Oh, yes, impotent. I had a vague idea of what this might mean, but impotency was not a topic we had discussed at Mary Washington College for Women. He gave me time to study the scene, but my vague feelings of what I was talking about must have been apparent. And I recall he tried giving me directions, but soon his disappointment in my acting ability was visibly apparent. A young couple came into the apartment and were excited to know if I was reading for the young wife. Yes, but it didn't work out, the director said. His disgust was palpable. So I went off to Gimbel's, looking swell in my copper-colored suit. I was somewhat dejected about my first New York acting opportunity, and certainly more aware that I was not quite ready for the big time. But thinking about it, I realized I was lucky. I could have been murdered. Well, after that experience, I did start going out on more legitimate interviews, and when I was offered a chance to go on tour with the National Classic Theater, I was relieved to get out of New York City. It really did kind of scare me. And I wanted to become a member of a theater company playing Shakespeare and restoration comedies in schools and colleges. Now, it was on that tour that I fell in love with the first witch in the Scottish play. I was the third witch, but Bonner, the first witch, and my future husband also played Licentio to my Bianca in Taming of the Shrew, a more romantic casting. Bonner was Canadian, so I spent several years working in the theater there in Toronto, Montreal, before coming to Los Angeles. Which brings me to my next story, What Brings You to Tears? Now, this was written in response to a Great Quill writing prompt. What brings you to tears? Well, I can't seem to write about our recent writing prompt, What Makes You Cry? Because maybe my abrupt answer would be very little. I can think of particular occasions when I was brought to tears. Whenever I attended a school play or concert, whether or not my own child was participating, I was always tearful. Even when my son became a high school sprinter, I had to remember to wear my sunglasses if I went to a meet. Just seeing the kids line up at the starting line would bring me to tears. I dissolved when his friend played the trumpet at a school concert, and the trumpet player's mother wasn't there to see him perform. Now, that said, that's really it for my tears coming easily, and I don't have to attend school activities anymore. How I managed 8 years as a major character on a soap opera is amazing, and I was always the victim, which demands a lot of tears. My character, Phyllis Anderson Curtis, had different surnames because I married a lot, and my husbands always deserted me. Looking back on it, how could I have cried when they left? But we'd never had any fun together. I never had one of those lavish soap opera weddings, and certainly no blissful honeymoon scenes on some exotic location. No, all my soap opera marriages started and ended tragically. The sympathy always seemed to be written for the poor guy who was stuck with me. Well, he had a real problem to deal with. My only recourse for sympathy was to stare out of a window, teary-eyed. The leading actress on our show could smile tragically and make a tear fall out of her left or right eye, whichever side was closest to the camera. I could only do that. There was a moment when the makeup man could pop in and pop a few drops to moisten my eyes. No, I could never manage those soft tears, but I did relish my moments of hysterical abandon. When you've been on a soap for a while, the writers figure out your strengths and weaknesses and start writing for you. They seem to decide in my case that I was just slightly deranged. That made it so much easier for me to play all the ridiculous stuff I had to do. When my upstanding husband of many years fell for a young woman and decided to break up our long, perfect marriage, they didn't make me stand teary-eyed at the window. No, they had me buy a gun and start target practice. Well, there were weeks of close-ups of this shaky gun being put in and out of drawers or aimed out of the window. I call it the shaky gun because that's how it was described in a fan magazine. Maybe I was nervous or I have a natural tremor, but I couldn't hold that gun steady in all those close-ups. Anyway, I got acting credits for the shaking. Then one day I finally did the deed. The deed being that I would shoot that young vixen who stole my husband. Presumably, I thought that my sweetheart husband and I would live happily ever after if I just got rid of her. But alas, all good plans go awry. It was dark when I crept into my husband's apartment, and the brazen young woman visiting him was not the vixen, but was our dear daughter, Mary. Bang, bang! The lights go on. What have I done? No quiet tears necessary. I shot my daughter. Screaming is called for. Screaming! Screaming for the first take, screaming for the second, screaming for the other angles. Bob's take, close up on the daughter. Scream, scream, scream. I lost my voice completely. The throat doctor at UCLA agreed to see me in the after hours. He gave me a shot and said not to speak for a week. Unfortunately, I was due on set the next morning at 7 a.m. My character, Phyllis, was in hospital in a state of shock, so I didn't have to be too verbal. The sound man hooked me up with a body mic and told me not to worry, although I could hardly whisper. We rehearsed the scene, and they took the body mic off me and said they could hear me fine. Actually, they seemed quite pleased. Coming from the theater, I had always tended to project, which was often not suitable for these intimate scenes. So that's when I learned how to talk on a soap opera. Very quietly.
Well, thank you very much, Corinne. Your writing is true and a little humor in there, and it gives us the life of an actor on stage on a soap. And it's just, superbly written and transfixing. Was there anything else you wanted to read before we end, or is that it?
Oh, that's it for me. I didn't, unless if you want something more, I should have been prepared for this. I could read you about I have a short one here about how I feel about cats, because I know everybody is so crazy about cats. But I can't seem to lay my hands on it here. I thought I had 15 minutes there.
Well, that's plenty. I'm just asking you. You know, we find you did a beautiful job, and you were just wonderful. And I could see how, you know, a lot of times we read other people's work, and this time it's your work. And I can see how honest and true you are. And it's just really vulnerable. And, you know, thank you for letting us in on your life, not only as a person, but also the acting. You're just such a marvelous actor.
Oh, gosh, thanks. Well, I found my cat story. It's one page. You want me to read it?
Absolutely. That would be wonderful.
All right. I've never been crazy about cats. I don't mind the big fat ones that sit across the room from you and stare at you. It's the wiry ones that might suddenly leap into your lap that I'm wary of. I've had experiences with both. My friend Annie, who lived a few floors down from us in our condo, asked if we would feed her cat the few days she was away. I assured her we would, knowing my husband would be happy to do so. At the first night, we went downstairs together, and the big fat cat, Spencer, met us at the door and led us into the kitchen. He seemed to know the plan. The cat tins were lined up on the counter with Spencer's bowl, and we proceeded to look for a can opener. We searched every kitchen drawer, and there was no opener attached to the wall. So I was about to go back upstairs for our opener when we noticed Spencer up on his hind legs, scratching frantically on a covered door. Lo and behold, the elusive can opener was attached inside the door. If only cats could talk. Cats are kind of fun. That's my cat story.
I love that. Well, you're wonderful, Corinne. You're always such a great writer and actor and reader of poetry, and you just did a marvelous job. So thank you very much. Our next reader, our next actor, our next writer is Kay Weissman. Kay Weissman began her career as a flamenco dancer in her teens, the only American in the Jose Greco Dance Company. Her name was changed to Antonia Flores, performing in the United States and Europe, representing Spain at the World's Fair in Brussels. Coming back to America, she went to New York to study with Uta Hagen and got her SAG card in The Godfather. She performed in Greenwich Village in Off the Wall, a well-known improv group, and appeared in many off-Broadway revues. Kay then went to Los Angeles and appeared in many TV shows, including Three's Company, Cagney and Lacey, Stingray, Highway to Heaven, Matlock, and the movie Mr. Saturday Night, later starring in Barry Manilow's musical stage production of Barry Manilow Presents the Copacabana. She is excited to be learning about poetry and sharing her stories here at MPTF. Here's an outstanding writer, Kay Weissman.
Thank you, Harry. Well, this is also coming from the Quill, and this is about the beginnings of my career when you'll see. Gertrude Doris Schubo was being groomed to be a great classical pianist, but when she debuted in 1931, she got one scathing review that damaged her life forever. She was unable to continue. And so she became a piano teacher, and she married Emil Friedman, a handsome Hungarian. They had a daughter. Her name was Wilma K. Friedman, and that was me. I was 7 years old, sitting at a baby grand piano in Burbank, California, tears running down my little red face, playing scales over and over again until I couldn't bear it anymore. I screamed at my mother, and I said, just because you were a piano player doesn't mean that I have to be one. Please don't make me. "Oh, I would never make you do what you don't want to do. But sweetheart, then what do you want to be?" "Well, I was 7 years old. I just wanted to be 8. I had to think of something quick, so I said, 'Oh, Mommy, I want to be a dancer.'" My mother's face lit up. "Well, then, that's what we'll be. We'll be a dancer." Well, I was not very good at ballet. I didn't ever have the right body for it. But luckily, one day changed my life forever. I heard exotic sounds coming from the studio next to my ballet class when I was 9 years old. What I saw was electrifying. There were guitars and singing, stomping sounds different from the sounds of tap dancing, exotic, dark-complected people clapping their hands to complicated rhythms. Some were sitting in a circle singing and clapping, and others were dancing in front of them, shouting out to each other in a foreign language. It was like a bolt of lightning that made my heart beat faster. They were all so beautiful. It was not like anything that I had ever seen before. The woman in charge was the most magical person that I had ever seen. She had a red bandana covering her black, shiny hair, a long skirt, and hoop earrings. She played something with her fingers that made a clicking sound, haunting. It seemed to rip into the music. I found out her name was Lola Montes. She was rehearsing for a dance tour. I looked at Lola with glazed admiration, and she told me she would give me some private lessons before she went on tour, but not to expect much. Little did she know about the Hungarian gypsy blood that ran through my Jewish veins. Soon I was taking class with the adults, and by that time, everyone had a hand in changing my name from Wilma K. Friedman to Antonia Flores. With some help, my long blonde hair turned into a dark brown as I learned to put on stage makeup, including false eyelashes. Every penny we had went to lessons, costumes, and going to dance concerts. At that time, there was one Spanish dance company that was very popular in the United States. It was the Jose Greco Dance Company. He was a very charismatic, handsome man, and his dances were wonderful and all from Spain, including gypsies, singers, and musicians. Everyone knew who he was, and he became the darling of the dance world and Hollywood as well. And so, the year that I graduated from Fairfax High School with no memory of ever having learned anything there, the famous Jose Greco was looking for only one dancer from the United States to audition for his company. I was as ready as I could ever be and out of my mind with excitement. I went to the Wilshire Bell where I had seen Greco dance so many times before, ready to become Antonia Flores. This took makeup, big gypsy hoop earrings, a costume, and castanets. And I could see the stage from the wings, the very stage that Jose had danced on. I couldn't wait to step on it. I wasn't afraid. I had prepared for this my whole life, and I was ready. I felt like I was flying. When I finished, a man got up from the darkened auditorium and stood in front of the stage. It was Jose himself. He asked me my name, and when I said Antonia Flores, he laughed, and he said he would learn my real name when I signed the contract. I think I stopped breathing, and I waited for more. He told me that I was the one dancer that he wanted for his company when the season began. The only one who could fill the bill. He said he was going to make me a star. Those were his very words. I was overwhelmed, and I gushed and stammered, telling him how honored I was. He said his office would call me before the tour started. He hugged and kissed me. and I was on my way. Well, I waited 4 months to get a call to join the company, and during this time, they were once again performing at the Wilshire Ebell Theater, but without me. I had told everyone that I was going to be in the company, so I was humiliated and I couldn't show my face. I stopped all dance classes, but I found Dairy Queen and then Hershey's miniature chocolates and M&Ms. So when he finally called, Jose acted as if no time had passed. I never found out why I was not asked to join at the beginning of the tour, but I didn't care. Although I was humiliated, he did call me and was joining the company in Las Vegas, Nevada. Will McKay was leaving Burbank, and Antonia Flores was heading to Las Vegas. I was so elated that I forgot that my parents and I weren't speaking to each other, and we all started dancing around. I stuffed my body into some old jeans that were the right size 4 months before, and I tried to tell my parents how much I loved them for making my dreams come true. That was a scene out of a telenovela with crying, yelling, apologies, accusations, and finally, elation. It was the first time I ever flew on a plane or left home. But with all the drama going on, I didn't have time to feel nervous. I arrived at the Sahara Hotel around midnight, exhausted, and I was told to get into my practice clothes to audition in front of the whole company. I was shocked to hear the word audition once again, since I thought I had passed the audition 4 months ago. I put on a black leotard and a long skirt over it. Mr. Greco seemed surprised and annoyed that I had gained 10 pounds. And with the whole company now sitting in the audience, he told me to do some steps and some turns for him. He asked me to pick up my long skirt so he could see my legs. It was around 2:00 in the a.m. and I was exhausted. He said he needed to replace someone going back to Spain. So I had to learn the steps and lose the weight fast. We were to start rehearsals at 10 a.m. It didn't matter because I was now a member of the Jose Greco Dance Company. So at 10 a.m. sharp, Greco met me on the Sahara stage. I couldn't believe that I was on the same stage as my hero, learning the choreography from him. In the meantime, I ate only the minimum of protein and started losing weight immediately. After only 2 days of rehearsals, he asked me if I was ready to go on stage that night and perform. At 18, I was ready for anything. He pushed me out of the stage and he said, "Smile and don't bump into anyone." The whole company was watching me in the wings. My costume was sewed on me with extra material. My long hair tightly wound in a bun with a red feather on top of my head. I danced my heart out. The next day, we got on a bus and arrived at a theater in San Francisco. At intermission, after a very strenuous dance that involved 15 knee falls, he told me that if I didn't perform better at the following concert the next day, I could pack my bags, go back to Burbank, and marry a nice Jewish dentist. He repeated it again in Spanish, so everyone understood, but I didn't cry. I practiced for hours in my little hotel room, my knees bleeding. The next day, I performed the dance, defiant that I would never go back to Burbank. When I knocked it out of the park, there was a loud shouting of oles and bravos, including from Mr. Greco. And they carried me back to the dressing room. And that night, someone cooked a paella on a hot plate, and we had a fiesta. We kissed and hugged, gypsies, Jews, and castanets, although I didn't understand a word that they were saying. So I was performing at night on the stage, rehearsing during the day, and starving myself to fit into the costumes. I was 18 years old, naive, emotional, scared, and hungry. I missed my parents, but would never have admitted it, and called them every night, telling them how wonderful everything was going. I felt terribly alone since no one spoke English, and I had no one to confide in as I cried myself to sleep every night, my body aching with pain. I had read and loved biographies of artists who sacrificed happiness for their art. So I was thrilled that now I felt that I was becoming one of them, enduring tremendous pain, physically and emotionally. I looked at myself endlessly in the mirror, trying to shade my cheekbones so that I would look thinner. We were to go on a train, my first, to Union Station, where my parents would meet me on the platform for only half an hour to catch up and then get back on the train and head out to Sacramento for our next concert. I had a window seat, but no one sat next to me as I listened to the chug of the engine. I thought about what I would say to my anxious parents. I would hide my anguish and just tell them the good part of how fast I was learning the routines. They didn't have to know the rest. And that I was starving, and that I thought everyone hated me. So as we puffed into the station, I was the first one off the train, unable to contain myself, running into their arms, crying hysterically. I blurted out how much I despised everyone in the company and that they were cruel and abusive people. My confused, shocked parents said, "Then let's get the hell out of here. Who needs this?" The whistle sounded to get aboard again. I tore myself from their arms and dramatically screamed, "No, no, I will be fine. Don't worry. I love it." I stood in the train steps, blowing kisses to them, and dramatically told them that the only thing that mattered to me was to become a great artist. I found my window seat and waved goodbye to my shaken parents as the train started to move. Miraculously, picture-perfect smoke puffed outside the window as my folks got smaller and smaller in the distance. I felt like Celia Johnson saying goodbye to Trevor Howard in the film Brief Encounter. My parents were devastated, but my heart swelled, knowing that now I was a bona fide, suffering artist, ready for the adventure of my life.
That was fabulous, Kay. It was, you mentioned, you used the word magic, and it was exciting, and you had that epiphany, and then you took us through your journey. It was just such a wonderful story, and it was really thrilling, to hear all the different emotions you went through, and that dance, and then the suffering that you went through and worry and all that. But, it was really a dream come true. I mean, what a great start in show business at age 18. And you started, remember, at 9 years old, you said you wanted to be a dancer, and everything just came true. So you just must be thrilled about, having that. How long did you work for that company?
For a year and a half.
Wow.
And then I went to Spain and studied with a gypsy lady.
Well, as you said in there, you said something that you had Hungarian gypsy blood in you, and it's true. You just have so many, such depth of emotion and such, excitement, and there's a sense of tragedy and worry and all that, and trying to stay thin, and all the hard work that you did, and it really paid off, and you just recreated that for us. So
thank you.
Such a beautiful story, so thank you very much, Kay Weissman. What a great story. And you continue to dance and act and give us your authentic life. It's just such a pleasure to know you and to hear you read and tell your story. So Thank you very much, Kay Weissman.
Thank you. Thank you.
Emmy Award-winning animation artist Ruth Elliott worked for Hanna-Barbera, Warner Brothers, Disney, and others on shows such as Scooby-Doo, The Simpsons, The Smurfs, The Jetsons, Space Jam, Fern Gully, The Tigger Movie, and others. In 2008, she co-founded the nonprofit edudesigns.org to, quote, build brains and hearts through the arts, end of quotes. An author and illustrator, her books include The Richest Kid in the Poorhouse, The Night Princess, Little Blossom, and her art textbook, See What You're Looking At. Her most recent project is a memoir of stories and cartoons called Baby in the Bathwater. The mother of 7, she aims to inspire the child in each of us through her art, writing, and music. Here is the wonderful singer-songwriter Ruth Elliott with a sampling of her songs.
Thank you so much, Harry, and thank you, Kay and Corinne, for what an inspiring story both of you, each of you had. They were wonderful. Well, I'm going to sing the first song that I ever wrote for my children before they were born, way back in BC, before children. I was thinking about what I would tell them if they had really screwed up so badly and were afraid to come home. Here it is. Oh, baby, don't you worry now. Mama's gonna love you anyhow. Don't you cry and don't you moan. Daddy's gonna love you when you get home. Well, you've been away for so long, but now you're coming back. You've been wasting so much time, but now you're on the right track. Da 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 dee da 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 dee da 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 da. Ain't no reason you should feel so bad. With every chance you know you've had, he helped you in the morning and you understood that you'd really make it if you knew you could. Well, you've been worrying too much, don't let it flow. That isn't what you're supposed to do, you know. Everybody feels that way. All you can do is your best today. Nothing more is expected of you, so don't worry, honey, we all worry too. Oh, let's go out and play. Let's have some fun today. Don't worry about the way. Oh, honey, it'll be okay. This is one that I wrote around the same time, and it was my answer to a call to the universe. Here we go. just a little while before your time is over. Even though you feel that it's going on forever, you've got to make your mind up. It's now or never. You've got to make a stand. Let him take your hand and let him understand that you mean just what you say, and be ready to go with him any day. Even though you feel that you're going on your own, it's not really so. You're only being led back home. And even though you may not know you're really on the way, you'll be ready to go with him any day. It's just a little while before your time is over. Even though you feel that it's going on forever, you've got to make your mind up. It's now or never. You've got to make a stand. Let him take your hand and let him understand that you mean just what you say, and be ready to go with him, ready to go with him, ready to go with him any day. Okay, and the next one I wrote for my first husband, who is the father of my 7 children, and I didn't have the money to buy him a present, so I wrote him a song. Ever happened to me. You're as sweet as can be when you make love to me. And you say I love you with the things that you do. And we're in for the long haul, me and you. When I look back, it's the truth that I see. You are the best thing ever happened to me. Sometimes it was hard, that's the way life will be. But we're in for the long haul, you and me. It was hard when you tell me the awful truth. It'd make me feel bad on the edge of my tooth. But your love was faithful, your love was true. And we're in for the long haul, me and you. Take you some time to weather the storm. Come in from the cold, you'll be feeling quite warm. is still waiting inside of me, 'cause we're in for the long haul, you and me. When you asked me to marry you, wanted much more. Did you know our love could be such a chore? I'm sorry for all that I put you through, but we're in for the long haul, me and you. Here's another song that I wrote for my first husband. I know that the times we've had are hard pulling through, but nobody knows exactly what to do. I know that it's hard to find someone to love, some peace of mind. If only you would take some time, I'd be with you. We're all doing the best we can. If only you would hold my hand, I'd be with you. I know that you love me too, I cannot help but see. I know you feel the same way about me. I know that you're doing your best, and life's put you to the test. Oh darling, won't you get some rest and be with me? We're all doing the best we can. If only you would hold my hand and be with me. I know that the times we've had are hard pulling through, but nobody knows exactly what to do. I know that you're doing your best, and life's put you to the test. Oh darling, won't you get some rest and be with me? We're all doing the best we can. If only you would hold my hand, I'd be with you. If only you would hold my hand, if only you would understand and be my man. Okay, well, if there's time for one more, then I might. Oh, here's another one that I wrote for my first husband. Here we go. Will I have to wait till you what's in front of your face. Oh, when will you open the gate? I hope it won't be too late. I love you more than you think that I do. You don't see all that you mean to me. It makes me feel so good when you do the things you should. But I can't stop loving you, even when you're making me blue. 'Cause I love you more than you think that I do. You don't see all that you mean to me. You think that you can fool me, but I can see all the while there's a place down deep inside me that can really make you smile. 'Cause I love you more than you think that I do. You don't see all that you mean to me. I love you more than anyone else I know. I love you more than any words can show. You mean so much to me. You'd better not run, can't you see? 'Cause I love you more than you think that I do. You don't see all that you mean to me. I love you so. I love you so. I love you more than you know. One of the first songs I ever wrote, and it's another one that, well, I'll just sing it. I know that you know we haven't got far to go. I can see you look at me, we have no one but thee. Ooh, you are the one I love. You are the one I love. You are the one above. Let me be a light for me. Help me to remember thee in the day or in the night. Let me not forget thy sight. Ooh, you are the one I love. You are the one I love. You are
Well, I think I've pretty much used up all my time. Thank you so much for letting me play.
Thank you, Ruthie, for your wonderful, beautiful songs. They're so true, and I always feel you're just, speaking to me, which is a sign of a good song. And they're so joyful, and they're, living in the present, and you're so aware of others, and you have so much care and love in your heart, and it shows in your music and in your playing. And why don't Corinne come on too, and we can all just talk for a few more minutes here. And why don't we start with Corinne and then go to Kay and then Ruthie, and just talk a little bit about what you saw or heard or about your reading, whatever you would like in terms of the show today. Corinne?
Well, I wish I could sing along with Ruthie. I think that'd be fun if we had a little song fest here. And yeah, maybe we'll do that sometime, Ruthie.
That would be lovely.
I think it's so amazing that Ruthie has written songs and sings songs and plays different instruments, and is also a cartoonist and has 7 children. I've never known anyone more accomplished. Well, and Kay, of course, I love hearing Kay's stories, which we do at Grey Quill. And but I love hearing this. I heard parts of that story from the beginning, but all in one piece. I loved it, Kay. It's so miraculous. I don't know why you're not out on the patio with your castanets showing us what you can do. No, it was fun, Harry. Thanks a lot.
Hey.
I just want to say how much fun it is to hear about everybody else. It's just so lovely. And I think we're so lucky to be here, to be together and sharing, as far as my stuff is concerned, as I wrote this, I thought, my God, what gave me the input to keep on going? And how I think that dance teachers are meaner than singing teachers.
Yes, but I have discovered during my career, I have more admiration for dancers as a set of people, singers, dancers, actors. Dancers are so disciplined. And boy, they know the words, they know the time, and they can't fool around. And now we know how they had to suffer to get there. Yeah.
And Ruthie, maybe you'll teach some of your songs to us so that we can sing them too.
I'd love that. Well, you guys were very inspiring to me, and boy, what grit to go through all that. That was just amazing. It really was. So I loved hearing about your adventures. Both of yours, the soap opera and then the Jose Greco and all that stuff. Wow. What an amazing thing.
I love that you had to kind of whisper, Corinne, with your elocution, with your great voice that you I
couldn't talk at all. That was what was so amazing. But that just goes to show you that you don't have to have a lot of vocal strength to do a soap. They're all so intimate and speak so softly that that's how I learned to do it, actually, using my voice.
Thank you all, Corinne Conley, Kay Weissman, and Ruth Elliott, for such a wonderful, joyful, and to use Ruthie's word, inspiring. I mean, you're telling the truth of your experiences and lifting us up with your excitement and the singing. It was really a wonderful, joyful, singular time that we've had on this show with all of you. And so thank you once again, from the bottom of my heart. You really lifted me up, and it was exhilarating to hear all of your work. So wonderful. And I know that it's time for us to go, but I just want to mention next Tuesday, we have 2 superb poets with us, Lee Rossi and Jean Colonimus. So thank you. And here's our wonderful director, Jennifer Clymer.
Thank you all for opening your memoir and your songs and your history and sharing it with us today. It was beautiful.
Thank you so much. And thank you, Harry, for giving us the opportunity. And Jen, especially for you too. Thank you.